It's Tuesday evening, just after 6 p.m., 6:01 UK time. This is the Spiritual Discussion Program. My name is Saad. I'm in Bromley in southeast London, and with me is Gregory. Gregory, how are you and where are you?
Hello, I'm okay. I'm in Brussels, and well, it's gotten very dark. It's already past 7 here.
Okay, and here also the clocks went, let me remember correctly, back 1 hour over the weekend, so it is also dark here now. Today was, I will say, mild day today. How was it in Brussels, Gregory?
Fairly mild, but cold.
Mild and cold, yes, that's another thing. It is cold now in London here. So yes, welcome listeners. As I said, this is a spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdrusheen. And we have a new topic every week. The topic for tonight is guidance from the beyond, psychics and mediums. Guidance from the beyond, psychics and mediums. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments. You can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text or use WhatsApp. I'm going to begin with what is the Grail message? The Grail message in the light of truth by Abdrusheen is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life. For through the knowledge mediated, the reader is again brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experiences of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover through the intuitive perception if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises, where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail message, Abdrusheen. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the Grail message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole, without leaving any gaps. Again and again, in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail message lives, so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by it. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with 7 seals. And I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, I just want to remind you, the topic we are discussing tonight is guidance from the beyond, psychics and mediums. That's guidance from the beyond, psychics and mediums. And you can contact us with any questions or comments. The number to contact us on our UK number, it is 07939 641 958. You can call, text or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text or use WhatsApp. Gregory, again, our title this time is a bit long, and I just and as usual I go in the dictionary for the key words to look at it to get some idea about the topic. So the first word I looked up here is beyond, and in the dictionary it's given at or beyond, or to the further side of something. And they give example of this from the south of Dortmund as far as Essen and beyond. So just to say that it's at or the further side of something. And then there's another meaning also in the dictionary, which is, I would say, more relevant for what we are discussing. It says the unknown, especially in reference to life after death. So, Gregory, I just would invite you to say any comment on this definition that I've given, two definitions really of the word beyond.
Very clearly, it can be seen that these definitions are bound to the intellect. Bound to the intellect in the sense bound to what is earthly. Anything outside of that has not yet been described in what you have discussed.
Thank you for that. So obviously, in our discussion, we are talking beyond the earthly. So I'm not going to invite you to give a definition now, Gregory. Just we'll explore it as we go along. And so the title, just to remind everybody, is Guidance from the Beyond, Psychics and Mediums. So also I looked up the word psychics, and there it says relating to or denoting faculties or phenomena that are apparently inexplicable by natural laws, especially involving telepathy or clairvoyance, in quotes, psychic powers. And then another part of you do get many times, Gregory, two definitions on the same word. It's sort of an extra, you could say, way to explain it. And that next one, it says relating to the soul or mind. So I'll just repeat that. This is the definition of psychic. Relating to or denoting faculties or phenomena that are apparently inexplicable by natural laws, especially involving telepathy or clairvoyance, in quotes, psychic powers. And then another one, it says relating to soul or mind. So again, Gregory, let me just, yeah, there's something extra as well about psychic, but I will leave that out. So Gregory, is there anything you'd like to say to that, this meaning, that is a couple of meanings that I've read out there?
Like the first scenario, these things are nebulous, imprecise, and it has to be that way because definitions have been drawn up based on that which is bound to the intellect. Therefore, they are not precise.
So again, I have an immediate question in my mind, what should be the definition, but let me not go there just now. And the next word there is medium, or mediums. And again, I looked in the dictionary there, it says an agency or means of doing something. And it gives an example, the intervening substance through which sensory impressions are conveyed or physical forces are transmitted. And the example they give is radio communications need no physical medium between the two stations. So Gregory, I just want to again ask you for your, maybe I should use the word feedback. Anything you'd like to say to that?
That particular expression comes a bit closer to what one should be expecting. In all the definitions or descriptions, if these descriptions are not understood intuitively, then the likelihood is to have a picture which is so discolored, which is imprecise, and therefore very confusing.
Thank you, Gregory, for that. I'm just trying to work out if I should pursue what should be the meaning of these words. And I'm hesitating because there's something I want to read out, Gregory, from the Bible as a story. So it's as like to say it as to put that as a background for our discussion. And I think that is where I'm going to start. So for listeners and Gregory, I would like to read from the Bible is Luke chapter 16, verses 19 to 31, and is titled The Rich Man and Lazarus. So this is from Luke chapter 16, verse 19 to 31. It's the story of rich man and Lazarus. So I'm going to read that now. There was a rich man who was dressed in purple and fine linen and lived in luxury every day. At his gate was laid a beggar named Lazarus, covered with sores and longing to eat what fell from the rich man's table. Even the dogs came and licked his sores. The time came when the beggar died, and the angels carried him to Abraham's side. The rich man also died and was buried. In hell, where he was in torment, he looked up and saw Abraham far away, with Lazarus by his side. So he called to him, Father Abraham, have pity on me, and send Lazarus to the dip, and tip the tip of his finger in, and tip his finger in water, and cool my tongue, because I'm in agony in this fire. But Abraham replied, Son, remember that in your lifetime you received your good things, while Lazarus received bad things. But now he is comforted here, and you are in agony. And besides all this, between us and you, a great chasm has been fixed, so that those who want to go from here to you cannot, nor can you cross over from there to us. He answered, Then I beg you, Father, send Lazarus to my father's house, for I have 5 brothers. Let him warn them, so that they will not also come to this place of torment. Abraham replied, They have Moses and the prophets. Let them listen to them. No, Father Abraham, he said, but if someone from the dead goes to them, they will repent. He said to him, If they do not listen to Moses and the prophets, they will not be convinced, even if someone rises from the dead. So again, listeners, that is a story of the rich man and Lazarus, which both have passed on, and we see the experience, what happens in the beyond there. Gregory, that's a very, how can I say, illustrative story, and more, you could say, like a moral story there. It looks like, Gregory, when people enter the beyond, we're talking, just to clarify, what we are talking beyond here is beyond the earth life. Let's just be very clear. So we are not on the earth in this part when we're talking about the beyond. And people have died and they have moved into the beyond. So it looks like, Gregory, when people are in the beyond and they somehow awaken and realize, oh, life is not as they expected, and now they want to do something about it, but it seems not so straightforward to do something. You can't communicate like you can do on the earth, it seems. And well, at least in this story, it looks like the rich man wanted to advise his brothers of what he's suffering, so they can be warned. So Gregory, the title we have set tonight is Guidance from the Beyond. First question, Gregory, on that is, should somebody be guiding from the beyond to the people on the earth? Should it be happening this way?
Absolutely not. First, what is the beyond? Thereafter, one may then come to communications in the so-called beyond. Basically, the beyond is that which is above the earthly senses, the capabilities of the earthly senses. Once it exceeds the capability of the earthly senses, it is called the beyond. It means the earthly senses, so-called earthly senses, have a range, and whatever exceeds that range could be referred to as beyond that range. And that is why one hears of the expression beyond. However, what must be clearly stated is that there is no division as such between the human personality on earth that has or has been granted the grace of the capabilities of the earthly senses, which is harbored by the physical body, and the other who lacks this earthly body. Therefore, when death is referred to, what is meant by that is that the departing one has dropped the physical body. That departing one only made use of the physical body to be able to participate in the activities directly in the earthly. So it means that the personality, you and I, that have been granted the grace of the possibility of the physical body, also harbor that which is greater, which has the capabilities beyond the five senses. And that faculty is the faculty of the intuitive perception. Therefore, it is very well possible for some who, whilst here on earth, are still able to use their senses, the earthly senses, and also, to some extent, to use their intuitive perception in communications with others. In that particular scenario, anyone who has then departed and has used his or her intuitive faculty in accordance with the laws of nature, with the laws of creation, or, like many would say, with the divine laws. For those who, in their perceptions, in their deep perceptions, have been able to communicate with not only with the earthly, but with the non-earthly, they themselves live naturally. They are able to perceive the effects of the activities which they themselves have been engaged. In that case, they need fear no repercussions, for they have been natural.
Thank you for that answer, Gregory. I've received a question from a listener. Let me just go to that message here. It's, the listener is saying, I have a friend who goes to a spiritualist church. He talks about messages. He talks about the messages people get from their departed ones. The messages seem shallow. Often they say the departed are looking over those still on earth. What are your views on these churches? Are they it's not very clearly said here, Gregory, so I'll try to make sense of it. What are your views on these churches? Are they using this to seek bring comfort, let me say, bring comfort spiritually? So let me read that again, so just to get the thread right. So
Not to worry. Let's
yes.
not spend time on, because each personality can see this, can get the direction and the sensing. When one is on earth, each personality strives to become independent. That means each personality, through their experiencing, through their activities, wish to use the earthly senses and also to use the intuitive perception to ensure they resonate such that they can live a life which is full of blessings. If, however, the personality, instead of struggling to know how to stand independently, always rely on stilt, always rely on prose, then he or she is not using, not exercising his or her limbs, is not exercising these limbs to make it strong, such that first it can sit, then stand, then run, and enjoy what others who, like him, are here for experiences enjoy. Therefore, each personality must strive for independence. If, however, the smallest challenge you have, you who have the capacity of the earthly, you then run to others who have then lost that capacity. Those who have lost that capacity because they don't have the physical body can only advise you based on their current knowledge. If their current knowledge or if their maturity is very low, close to the earthly, they may advise you as best they can. But for those whose maturity outweighs that of the earthly, they would have departed far, far away, and they cannot understand all the gossips, all the wickedness, all these things which are bound so much in the earthly. How can such who have advanced themselves come into the gossips, into all the pettiness that abound with human souls who still have their physical body? They can't advise. So those who are in touch with the so-called others in the beyond are seeking things which are of no importance as such, whereas they, who are still here on it, are supposed to work on themselves to understand all the challenges in the earthly. So it's not a very good picture when one hears that there are so-called spiritualist churches who will then get messages to tell you what you already know. Will that be progress? Or they tell you something which is of no value? Those who rely on such become dependent, become like slaves, because they have made themselves slaves.
Thank you for that explanation and answer, Gregory. I've got many more questions coming in my mind now, but before I ask them, I've got to just let listeners know you're listening to Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdrushin. If you are interested in knowing more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, G-R-A-I-L, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is guidance from the beyond, psychics and mediums. Guidance from the beyond, psychics and mediums. You are welcome to join us with any question or comments. You can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. Also, just to remind you, we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, the number 1.com. Also on YouTube, go to youtube.com and type in the search box, again, Bless Radio 1, the number 1, space, live stream. That's go to youtube.com, type in the search box, Bless Radio 1, the number 1, space, live stream. And you can also listen to the recording of the show the next day, also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box, Bless Radio 1, again the number 1, space, Grail message, and then the topic of the show, which tonight is guidance from the beyond, psychics and mediums. Now, Gregory, in your earlier answers, you were saying that communication, let's say, to the beyond or from the beyond, basically it shouldn't happen, but there can be some natural, let's say, certain situation where if it is within the laws of nature, you can say, or it is natural, it happens in a natural way, that is okay. Just before I continue that, is that a right understanding of what you said, just before I continue?
No.
Okay, please correct it before I continue.
No, continue, because I have to follow.
Okay, so basically, why I'm saying that is, there are people, I'm going to put in quotes, which are gifted, like clairvoyants, clairaudience, and other such people, where people, or psychics, another word we've used today, psychics and mediums. Just, there's so many names, actually, Gregory, you can't believe, when I just Googled that word, psychics, and I got so many synonyms, let's say about 20 different synonyms. I'm not going to even go there. So I'm just picking those few that I've just mentioned to you now. So my question is, and we already mentioned spiritualist churches already, that's already done that. So my question is, Gregory, if there are people with talent, natural talent, if I can say, to contact the beyond, surely it must be right in certain situation to contact them. Yeah, so I'll ask like that. And maybe before I do that, I just give example where people approach these psychics to contact their, mostly it's the relatives in the beyond. So, for example, it's normally a tragedy, some unfortunate circumstance where one loved one has passed on. You know, it could be a young child. Well, normally it's not children who can come talk to the medium, but somebody has lost their brother, like, you know, through an accident or some, let's say, very unexpected event suddenly, and you know, not a natural death. That's what I'm trying to say, and so they feel the need through the, because of their missing them or whatever, why this happened, and they just want to know what is going on, you know, why it happened, and somehow they think, okay, maybe the person is in the beyond and he can, you know, communicate with them. So my question, Gregory, is if there are these such psychics with natural talent, you know, is it not right to contact through them psychic to contact the dead, basically, for certain certain situations? Let me say that way. I don't want to say everybody should be doing this.
In response, initially, I made it clear that it is wrong, wrong, wrong. And very simply, that personality that has now lost the use of the physical body gradually detaches. It means when that point comes in which the soul must detach itself for one reason or the other, let's say due to malfunctioning of the physical body, it therefore means the resonance does not exist anymore. And therefore there is a separation until there is a severance. And the soul must now, in accordance with the laws of creation, pursue its paths depending how it has prepared itself, depending how he himself has sown in his activities. However, for many, it takes quite some time depending on their maturity. Now, for one who is departing, because of the sorrow of those who remain behind, they keep wailing. They now want that personality who has now embarked on another journey to return because of them, or to return because of their selfish desires, and to engage them in that which is earthly, that which the human personality has just lost the capacity to grasp. You now want that person to come back and start advising on tax matters, on health issues, on whom to marry. It is the motive behind some of these things is so narrow and so selfish that it is not advised. For that person who is departing, in soliciting through a so-called medium or a psychic, to come back and engage in that which is earthly. Which earthly? It has lost the use of the five senses in the earthly space and time. That departing one still has to exert itself to understand again earthly matters. Consider earthly matters regarding tax. Should I pay my tax or should I not pay my tax? Should I be kind to this person or should I not? You ask yourself, is that what one should wish for a loved one? What, after all, should one refer to as love? A consideration which is not shown because of personal desires. You then want the departing one to rebind itself, to come so low. What should not be forgotten, that in the nearest neighborhood of the earth, because of the way men think, their thought forms are so heavy, murderous thoughts, thoughts of all the, imagine all the evil things you can think about. They hover around, and yet this person who is striving away from baseness now have to come back. This person who is striving and struggling away from that which is dark, you now wish the person to come back because you have a particular worry to attend to your needs. Is that what one may call love? Very clearly, this is selfishness, and that is why it is not advised. After all, when these people come around, of course, there are other base entities who are around, that which is earthly. And you may have a discussion going on, and then some of these base entities that have come into existence through man in their wicked ways, they themselves, to some extent, may even influence the psychics, and the psychics unknowingly transmit in their sensitivity to the listeners what sometimes they wish to hear. And sometimes along the line, everything is grossly distorted. All because the man on earth wants to deal with some issues he or she wishes to know. That is not the purpose of life on earth. So that is why it is not advisable. On the other hand, should those in the beyond wish to speak to man, or more precisely, wish to communicate with man on earth, many are able to do so through their intuition. It means on a spiritual level or on the level of the soul, they are able to communicate with the individual, and sometimes these communications are perceived in their dreams. That may seem more natural or, on the other hand, are able to influence others such that the impacts of their influence may turn out to be beneficial to him or her who is grieving.
Thank you for that, Gregory. Can I just check the last word you said? Did you say grieving? Grieving. Did you say that?
Yes, I say grieving, yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I had a follow-on question exactly about the grieving, especially regarding if somebody died through an accident, completely unexpectedly. So I don't think I will pursue that now. Now, I was going to ask, you said, when people do want to contact the people in the beyond from the earth, or maybe even vice versa, and there are these psychics and mediums there who have the natural talent, if I can say that way. If they shouldn't be contacting, obviously, about tax and, let's say, purely earthly matters, I can fully agree that that's not something worthy of communication, because that's not the point of, that's not the problem. That's not a matter that need to be talked about with somebody who's gone in the beyond. So, Mike, so since Gregory, there are these mediums or psychics who have this talent. It sounds that there should be some purpose for them, so is there any matter that you can communicate that is let's say legitimate, if I can use that way, that is legitimate reason to use a psychic to contact the dead, basically?
The best one may say is that each personality must refine their ability to perceive intuitively. Only when the human personality, through activities, has purified itself and is able to perceive precisely, only then will it be in a position to read the language in creation. And for such, there will be no need for a medium. There will be no need for a psychic. However, there are situations regarding a particular issues, like the construction of roads, or issues which refer to the activities in nature. Activities in nature like the bursting of a dam, like the building of structures, say of a lake, which can have impact on many other areas. Man must understand that, one should reframe it, the human spirit must understand that it is not the only one who has activities here in nature. There are also the nature beings. These nature beings are responsible for the elements of fire, of wind, of the earth. It is their domain of activities. And therefore, when they carry out their activities, it is good for man to be aware that our activities abound in certain areas such that they will not rush in their callous ways into these particular areas of activities, and then they are then prone to harm. There are countries which are able, many persons in these countries are able to perceive this, and they respect it, and they ensure that there is restraint. There you can have, in quotes, psychics. Psychics in the sense, these are personalities who, either due to their fine blood radiation or the peculiarity of their blood radiation, are able to perceive of activities and are able to some extent report of the activities, and therefore spare many persons who out of rashness would have run into it. Therefore, it is important in that particular case. Of course, there have been psychics from the earliest beginning of mankind here on earth. For these nature beings are the ones who prepare that which is to happen within the physical. There are also nature beings who also prepare that which is to happen in the non-physical. So, a so-called psychic who is able, through their sensitivities, to perceive of these activities can report back. There has never been a gap. If, however, instead of tuning their activities or the psychics perceiving all these things and reporting back, if they now abandon that and become petty in the service of human personalities who want to know the next person they should get married to, or where certain goals or money was kept such that they can go after that, such is not advised.
Thank you for that answer and picture, Gregory. I've received a question from a listener. Actually, before the listener sent me the question, I had something similar, and I'm just trying to look at this, what I had in my mind. But I think I will go what the listener is saying. The listener is saying, is there a difference between spirit guides and those departed who can still benefit woman or man on earth via the available modes of communication mentioned? So let me repeat that. Is there a difference between spirit guides and those departed who can still benefit woman or man on earth via the available modes of communication mentioned?
First, once you understand what spirit guides are, spirit guides, which you quote on spirit guides, are mostly those who initially have lived here on earth and having experienced, they had their weaknesses and also they have their strong points. Having departed, they can perceive how others who in their weaknesses behave like them. Some who are rash, some who are not so rash, some who are impatient. And in observing where such behavior will lead the personality on earth, have on their own volunteered to be of assistance, to advise, to forewarn. The framework that nature or that creation has put in place is that of conscience. When you hear many says conscience, it is the bit of advice here and there of different guides. It is this that make the conscience of the personality while still on earth. While still on earth, that person who had been on earth in the past, to a large extent, understand the challenges and can sense the emotions, the deep emotions of that personality on earth, and will strive to make use of his strong parts and his weak parts and guide. And that is why, to a large extent, they are called spirit guides. However, one may not call them spirit guides, but these are just guides. These are different from the spirit guides which guide the spirit from the beginning. These guides have different potentials, have different capabilities. What one has just discussed is only a tip of the iceberg. For many who have the strong emotion to examine, let them go to the walk in the light of truth, the Grail message. There they will find all that they will ever ask for.
Thank you for that, Gregory. Dear listeners, as Gregory just mentioned about the work in the light of truth, the Grail message, if you are interested in knowing more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, G-R-A-I-L, message, MESSAGE.com. And we're discussing the topic tonight, which is called Guidance from the Beyond. Psychics and mediums. Guidance from the Beyond. Psychics and mediums. You can contact us with any questions or comments on our UK number, which is 07939 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, the number 1. Bless Radio 1, the number 1.com. Also, we are on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again the number 1, space live stream. That's of course for the live show. You can also listen to the recording of the show the next day, which again you can go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1, space Grail message, and space again, and the topic of the show, which tonight is guidance from the beyond, psychics and mediums. Gregory, the question, another question I wanted to ask you is, we've heard of guardian angels, and just now in the last question we talked about spirit guides. So first of all, what are guardian angels?
Most of the time, it is only these expressions are just confused expressions which many wish to use to express what their wishes must be. And you hear of these guardian angels. It's the word angel. Angel itself, these are beings in creation. These beings who swing unconditionally in the will of the Almighty. They swing unconditionally in the will and are of pure forms, are of beauty unimaginable. And one should not expect such to approach men who, within the environment they have created, turn out to be so filthy. Should they, in one way or the other, approach, then the radiation that exudes out of them is able to push back that which man gives off. That means whatever a personality has been sowing, he or she is then forced to reap it within a very short time. Of course, there are angels, the activities of which is not very clear to many a man or woman. However, many would wish that Christ himself, or the Lord Almighty himself, will send them personalities of such high rank to collude with them in their pettiness. Such are best left alone in their self-delusion. For when angels are mentioned, the conception of the angel must be very different from what they imagine. For these beings in nature, these beings in creation, fulfill the will of the Almighty unconditionally, in accordance with the laws of creation, not in accordance with the wishes of men. So these are expressions which many have chosen to sort of express their personal wishes unless, however, they, in their activities, vibrates unconditionally in the will of the Almighty, they are unable to make use of the activities or of the gifts that these angels carry when they approach man. It must be stressed that there is a difference. One should not expect an angel in the divine realm to come into creation and becomes a personal advisor or a petty slave to an ignorant earthman. The best that can happen is those personalities who have suffered from such weaknesses as they on earth are now suffering, and are able to come near to them and help them. Others that have departed the earth and even departed the world of matter and are back in paradise have no understanding of the pettiness, of the wickedness that human spirits exhibit sometimes whilst on earth. And that was why the story you read of Lazarus and the businessman, whatever they try to call
it. Just says the rich man, the rich man.
Yes, that story is very pertinent. For when Lazarus was back, having severed all that is unearthly, and has matured to that state where he was able to return to where he should be, he lost all the contact of the human understanding of the selfishness and the wickedness of persons who still behave that way. Because there is no harmony, there is no resonance between that which is so high and that which is so base. There is a gap. That is the distance which now exists between that which is high and the neighborhood that the human intuition, the human thought forms have created for themselves, which is now called hell. Can't understand it. All that Lazarus or the rich man needed to have done is to drop away those selfish behaviors, but it is unwilling. What do you expect Lazarus to do? Drop those things which bar the way from you rising. You refuse. There's nothing that can be done. It is not only such cases abound right on earth, for many have very distorted concepts, thinking or considering that the Lord Almighty will come to their aid, will send angels, will send guardian angels to their rescue, and they will not make any effort to improve of themselves spiritually. Before too long, their time on earth, the opportunity granted, that grace runs out. And they will find it is different. They will not be helped because the help which has been stretched to them in the world, which is granted to them, like the world was granted during the time of Moses, where it was made very clear they have dished the word, ignored it. Well, if they would not listen then, why would they listen now? When it's being stressed that there is no way there, but they still want to hold on to the continuous selfishness, the continuous wickedness, where they perpetuate the bits they have, they hold it, and do not allow others to enjoy off that little which they could share. In these discussions, it has always been one for all for one. Each personality has that which is necessary for maturity for the whole.
Thank you for this answer, Gregory. I've got another question about angels. I think from this you will probably discover or realize that there are different levels of angels, and so this is about the belief in Islam or tradition in Islam, where they say there are two angels which record, which are, every human being has these two angels. One of them, let's say, in figuratively speaking, is on the left shoulder, and one is on the right shoulder, figuratively speaking, like I say. One is recording the good deeds, one is recording the bad deeds. And then on this day of judgment, when we wake up there, they count the bad deeds, or the bad deeds are counted and the good deeds are counted, or for each person in front of that, but they're given to them in front of that person. And then it is, let's say, God decides to, it doesn't, in a way, it's partly it says it's not completely the total number of good deeds versus the bad deeds, whichever outweighs the other. It doesn't mean you go directly to heaven or hell just because of the number you've done, but it can be decided by the mercy of the Almighty. So, but my point here, Gregory, is maybe there are other angels which are, let's say, of different levels. That's the point I'm trying to make, doing doing different actions, doing different activities. So, as I said, this one in particular here is talking about one records the good deeds and one records the bad deeds. And then I don't want to complicate this because, we just talked about guardian angels. Apparently, there are in Islamic tradition also guardian angels. It's given there. So my point here, Gregory, is maybe there's many angels or beings, if we can put it in another way, and they're doing different tasks, and some are doing in quotes, are doing high-level tasks, and others are doing more lower-level tasks. So, as a man has gone in his development in his history, or whatever you can say, journey, they have made their own words out of what the angels are. So they use the word angel maybe in many ways, and so it becomes very difficult to know what exactly this level that angel is, and so on. So my question there, Gregory, is just to get to the point. Are there different levels of angels, Gregory, doing the different tasks, and for example, guardian angels, other angels?
There are beings in creation whose task is that of weaving the thoughts of men, weaving the deeds of men, weaving the intuition of men. These are three different weavings, and these weavings are brought together for what man perceives intuitively may be different from his thinking, may be different from the final dates, in accordance with the will of the Almighty. These beings pick up the threads of three different weavings and bring them together. The Almighty has, in His infinite wisdom, already placed in creation that which creation needs to be well ordered. That which is necessary for the creation of forms, which forms or which structural forms form the basis of love, form the basis of substances, of substantiality, of the light. On the other hand, the weavings of these nature beings or of these beings in creation, people may call them different, may call them even fairies. These weavings are not done in an arbitrary manner, but are done in a consistent and well-ordered manner, such that they will bring reward or punishment to that personality who supplied the nutrients for this weaving. For the power of the Almighty flows in creation, and the human personality, through their intuition, are able to make contact with this power, and therefore can direct it in whatever way they wish, because they themselves, the human personality, have free will. These beings only weave that which had been thrust at them in accordance with these laws in creation. And therefore, when the human being decides to incarnate here on earth, there are different sets of beings that weave first the soul body, the ethereal body, and finally the physical body, before that person is now born. Based on that which are returning to the personality, the beings weave accordingly. The same thing happens whilst the human personality is on earth, but now has additional tools, that's of the physical body, the five senses. And at departure, when the departing soul is about to leave, there are another set of beings who are responsible in the severance of the knots which had been tied at the beginning of birth. Such is the arrangement in creation, in the structure of creation, that any arbitrariness does not exist. These beings, because they swing unconditionally in the will and in the love of the Almighty, they are of perfect beauty, which some who in their humbleness were permitted to behold. However, what is stressed here are only glimpses. When these pictures are given, they are given to in accordance with the maturity of the people. And that being the case, you will find that these pictures, depending on the culture and maturity, these pictures are interpreted differently. And that is why some of these things, some of the expressions, guardian angels. However, it is the human spirit itself that forms its path where he or she wishes to go, here or hereafter. And therefore, what the spirit needs to know is how to weave its path whilst here or hereafter, as one will find advice is given here and there, even at the time of Moses, also at the time of Christ, when he gave the Lord's Prayer, or when he mentioned, love thy neighbor as thyself, or even now in the walk in the light of truth, when it is said, keep the hearts of your thought pure, and that one will bring you benefit, and you will be happy. The essence of these discussions, of these sayings, remain the same. But because of the varied maturity of the personality, they see it differently.
Thank you so much, Gregory, for your answer. I've got so many questions I want to ask, and I want to go back. One of the ones I just would like to ask you now, Gregory. Earlier on, we're talking about people on the earth trying to communicate people in the beyond, people who have passed on. But I was wondering, Gregory, we know there's a variety of human beings, good and bad, or good and evil. And when you enter the beyond, is the good and evil, the evil doesn't disappear, or good doesn't disappear. So if people are contacting from the earth to people in the beyond, but the one in the beyond happens to, it could be mischievous, or it could be somebody who's evil, decides to pass that, whatever you could say, evil advice back to the person on the earth. And the person on the earth wouldn't have a clue, is that good or evil, what he's hearing through I'm talking through a psychic, I'm talking in that way, because we can't have normally direct connection with the person in the beyond. So my question is, Gregory, yes, how let's assume that in one case there's a, evil person who's acting in an evil way, let's say, because let's say in the beyond, and he's giving let's say, something damaging to the person on the earth. And can the person on the earth, Gregory, be aware of that, or because we've been assuming up till now everything is good, whatever is given, it is a good advice. But how can we ensure that it's not, it's actually evil?
One thing must be very clear. You yourself cannot give that which you lack. Therefore, if genuinely many in the beyond have the strong desire to give advice, that advice must be based on their personal intuition, not of the cunning intellect. Therefore, a person on earth who comes in a cunning way, in accordance with the laws of attraction of homogeneity, such a personality, even in the presence of a medium, will sort of distort the neighborhood, the immediate environment of that medium, which sometimes the medium is unable to detect immediately. Had that been the case, the possibility is there that one in the beyond who then approaches is not the so-called loved one that one has wished. After all, it is not difficult to read the thought forms of men and see how there is at variance what they are thinking and what they wish to do deep within. It is very clear, these low vibrations. Right here on earth, because one is not that advanced, you are unable to perceive what the other one is thinking. But once the physical body has been dropped, the only language the soul understands is that of the intuitive perception, which cannot be used to deceive another one. Therefore, it is not advisable for many to start relying on others to come and advise them on what to do whilst here on earth. After all, it is not difficult to understand. What you do not want people to do to you which hurts you, don't try it on another person. That is not rocket science. You are not an island. You need help. After all, you didn't give birth to yourself. Someone gave birth to you. And therefore, you are connected with others. It has to be one for all and all for one. It's not rocket science, so-called, to live a peaceful life in one's neighborhood. But you do have people who refuse to, who consider themselves rich. Rich, not in spiritual wisdom, but in the so-called earthly riches. And what do you call earthly riches? Having the abundance of gold, the abundance of silver, the abundance of that which is necessary to use here on earth, even those which are not necessary to use. They have so much great abundance, and they then squander it. So it is very clear. Let the human spirits persevere. Let the human spirit learn to live in peace and harmony with its neighbors in such a way it will build an environment around him, first in his physical activities, secondly in his thoughts, and thirdly in his intuition. It is that environment which the human personality has built for itself, which will accompany it once it has dropped the physical body. For the returns of either that which is good, which is of benefit, or that which is bad, which is not of benefit, when those returns come, if the returns do not resonate with the environment, then they will not be of value. If the returns come and resonate with that which is good, which it harbors within itself, it will be of value because it will enhance his perception. It will enhance how he needs to live in the beyond with those of kindred activities. If, however, he continues with ignoble activities, then in accordance with homogeneity, it will be attracted, it will resonate with those who harbor such, and therefore we gravitate to such a neighborhood. Therefore, when someone on earth still wishes to communicate with that personality, the person on earth is not sure whether this person has ascended or has descended, and yet wishes to ask for advice, which advice it itself can easily perceive if only it opens up in its intuition.
Thank you so much for this answer, Gregory. Dear listeners, you're listening to Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abrushin. If you are interested in knowing more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And we're broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, the number 1.com. Bless Radio 1, number 1.com. Also, we're on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again the number 1, space, live stream. You can also listen to the recording of the show the next day. Again, you go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again the number 1, space, Grail message, and the topic of the show, which tonight is guidance from the beyond, psychics and mediums. Guidance from the beyond, psychics and mediums. And the topic, as I said, we are talking about is guidance from the beyond, psychic and medium. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 07939 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're, yes, I've just received a question from a listener. I'm just going through that, what it is. Okay, I'm not. I will continue on something else, Gregory, because I want to talk about a few other different things now. Just yes, let me do that. So it was Halloween on Sunday, 31st of October, and I decided to do a bit of research to check what Halloween really is, because things are really changed over time. And from Wikipedia, this is like a summary of what I was able to work out. Basically, it started over 2,000 years ago as you could call it a pagan festival, or it is in the Celtic times. Celts are known to be in, let's say, originally in Scotland, Ireland, and even Wales. So they were celebrating. It wasn't called Halloween there. It was called Samhain festival, to celebrate the end of autumn and the beginning of winter, and actually was celebrated on 1st of November. And you could say it's similar to Harvest Festival. Anyway, later on, when the Christians came into these, in UK you can say, they seem to have turned that festival into All Saints' Day, or All Hallows' Day, which is dedicated to remembering the dead, especially the saints and martyrs who have departed. And it would be like a vigil. And then in the 19th, 20th, and the 21st centuries, in North America, with North American influence, this festival has seemed to have changed into more like a fun sort of activity with trick-or-treating and Halloween costumes and games and so on. So it's gone through quite a few, you could say, changes. And also it has become, it's celebrated not only by Christians and non-Christians, really, I can say, and it's become commercialized. That's another thing I want to say, rather than more of a spiritual festival, which was what it's meant to be originally. So, if I take that, looking at the Christian celebration of it, of Halloween, that is, where they were celebrating the passing of the saints and martyrs. So I know this is not directly communication with the dead, that's what we are talking about tonight, but I just wanted to go and touch on it. So, Gregory, first of all, I'm always a bit curious, when people are classified as saints, by, let's say, a religion, and is that, who are supposed to be saints, are meant to be good people, have done, let's say, done something to, you could say, spread their teaching, or done something heroic, let's say. So, is it right to call somebody a saint, or to mark somebody a saint? Let me just start with that first.
It must be understood that the human personality has a free will, and therefore has the right to designate, whether rightly or wrongly, how it wishes to see many an event. So it is not in place for one to ask whether it is right, but it is in place of one to understand that the human personality uses its free will. How these expressions now swing within the context of the laws of creation is a different manner, a different thing altogether. For when the word the dead is mentioned, looked at from the intellectual side, from the earthly, they had initially a personality in flesh and blood whom they celebrated. Only those who are born of flesh and blood will lose that body of flesh and blood when that cycle is complete. Those who are not born of flesh and blood need not or cannot die, in quotes, the way people say it, because the death is only referred to as the death of the physical body. That is what is seen from the outside. There is another death, and that's of the spirit. That is a different discussion. And there is most of the time a confusion about death of the physical body and death of the spirit. So when people are classified as saints, these are classified as saints in the religion which they have held. They have not examined the laws of creation to find out the facts. So it is their opinion. And their opinion has to be respected.
Thank you for that. And as I say, Gregory, Halloween is about if you do it with a Christian outlook, it's supposed to be commemoration or celebration of the departed of the saints or the martyrs. And so so I want to ask on that, Gregory, should they be remembering that? Is in fact, I'm trying to understand what is their it's not a prayer. I was trying to understand when I looked at this, the purpose of this. It is a vigil. They describe it as a vigil. So for those who have departed. So I don't know if they're trying to send them good wishes or what exactly they're commemorating in this way. Or is it just to say that these are heroes and they want to honor the heroes, that that this is some good people and we want to remember them. So I'm a little bit unsure, Gregory, what is the purpose of the Halloween's vigil, but let's go on each one. So let's say, Gregory, they are commemorating to celebrate that these are good people. So is that a good idea as well?
When you mentioned they are celebrating or commemoration that these are good people in accordance with the wishes of the nation, or good people in accordance with the laws of creation through which everyone came into existence. One has to decide that. If it is in accordance with the laws of creation, then these laws of creation will advance the paths for that which is good in accordance with the law of creation, resonates with the love and with the will, and therefore will pave the path. It means, therefore, the nature beings or the spiritual beings or those beings in creation will help to pave the path which the human personality need to follow. If, on the other hand, it is in accordance with the community, which communities sometimes go to other places, pillaging, raping, destroying, then, in accordance with the laws of creation, such only bind themselves to that neighborhood, and they cannot advance of themselves and improve on their state. Yet, these people are celebrated for the pillage, for the destruction they have caused. Look at the case of Pizarro that went to South America. What did he do? Look at the case of nations who collude to destroy others, to enslave others. And yet, these are the same ones. Look at the case of the so-called churches who set people on fire. And in doing that, had to call on the Almighty to bless their wickedness. Is it then surprising that for a few psychics or a few mediums who are able to perceive the immediate neighborhood, the ethereal neighborhood of the earth, they see these garishly looking, ugly structures. And they are then displayed as Halloween. Man has to decide.
Thank you for that, Gregory. Now I just want to return back to the point about, well, not point, we were talking about angels, but I want to come from another different angle now. So, Gregory, in the scriptures, we hear that the prophets, many prophets are receiving, let's say, messages from the Almighty through an angel of the Lord. So, let's say, for example, in Islam, Muhammad is supposed to have received the message of the Quran through the angel Gabriel. Now you have talked a lot about the different categories of angel, if maybe that's not the right way to put it, but many levels of angels that exist. So obviously even they call an archangel, Gregory, if I'm more accurate about it. So say Archangel Gabriel giving the message to the Prophet Muhammad, for example. This is just an example, I'm not trying to pick on any one particular faith or anything. So my question there, Gregory, is we're talking about communication or guidance from the beyond. So when a messenger or prophet of God receives such, I don't know if I should use the word guidance or communication, I'm not quite sure which one I should be using, from the beyond, in this case, let's say through an angel, is that some ability of that messenger, that particular messenger has a special ability compared to, let's say, a psychic or medium? I'm trying to maybe understand the difference, how it works.
In our discussion, the mention was talked about of one's intuitive perceptions. Many of these so-called messages are strong impressions which register intuitively. These strong intuitive pictures are then translated into earthly expressions. There's one condition. If really these are expressions that have come from on high, then in accordance with the laws of on high, as it is above, so shall it be below. That same law, which law of reciprocity, which law of resonance must apply. Then it becomes the task of the human personality to bestir itself to grasp that which has been sent to it through another, such that it will understand what is demanded of him or her. If, however, the human personality cannot grasp what has been sent, then it should leave it alone, else it will make it impure. The challenge has always been that whatever is granted from on high, once it is pressed out here on earth, it is grossly distorted. Many who receive it want to keep it to themselves for their own personal advantage and for the disadvantages of the others. Each work, each message must be examined thoroughly, must be examined rigorously, intuitively. If it is not done, then that personality is unable to resonate with that which has been passed on to him or her. Therefore, whatever message has come from on high, man must examine himself, must examine the message rigorously. If it is not examined, then don't go there. It's of no use. Only what you yourself understand you can make use of. Else, how will you make use of that which you don't have a concept of? Those who then interpret it will ask you for donations, or we put some tax on it so that you yourself will understand. Consider that which man needs to exist, which is here on earth, oxygen, is free. However, if somebody tries to deprive you of your ability to breathe, that means you are unable to breathe freely as you should do here on earth, then that person is not working in accordance with the will of the Almighty. So let each person examine what has been passed on to him or her. And there must never be any force. There must never be any distortion. And these teachings must be simple.
Thank you for that, Gregory. We have now come to the end of our show, and I would like to read, as I do most of the time, from the Grail message, the, uh, the foreword of the Grail message, which is titled "For Your Guidance." The bandage falls, and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. I am addressing earnest seekers only. They must be able and willing to examine this matter objectively. Religious fanatics and irresponsible enthusiasts may hold aloof, for they are detrimental to the truth. As for the malevolent and prejudiced, they shall find their sentence in the very words. The message will strike only those who still carry within them a spark of truth and the yearning to be true human beings. To all such it will become the shining light and staff. It will lead them unswervingly out of all the chaos of the present-day confusion. The following word does not bring a new religion, but is intended as the torch to help all serious listeners or readers find the right path, which leads them to the longed-for height. Only he who bestirs himself can advance spiritually. The fool who uses extraneous aids for this, in the form of ready-made opinions of others, only walks his path as if on crutches, while ignoring his own healthy limbs. But the moment he boldly uses all the abilities which lie dormant within him, awaiting his call to help in his ascent, he is employing the talent entrusted to him in accordance with his Creator's will, and will easily overcome all obstacles that seek to divert him. Therefore awake. Genuine faith lies only in conviction, and conviction comes solely through an inflexible weighing and examining. See that you're truly alive in the wonderful creation of your God, Abrushin. Gregory, is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners to say goodbye?
Wishing them a beautiful month, a beautiful week, and strength for the challenges ahead.
Thank you. And thank you from me, Saad, as the host, listeners, for joining us tonight. Hope you enjoyed the discussion on guidance from the beyond, psychics and mediums. We'll be back next Tuesday as usual, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time with another new topic. I wish you also a great week. God bless. Take care. All the best. Good night.